Within a recent trailer, an exotic for each class was revealed. Initial impressions being quite promising, then their effects expanded upon within the weekly TWAB. This made them even better. So let's get into it. How do I think these exotics will perform in the next sandbox? Starting with Warlock, the full description for this one reads: while a strand super is equipped, casting Rift will suspend nearby combatants. Suspend deals damage over time, healing you in the process. Combatants who break free from suspension suffer additional damage. Defeating suspended targets heals you a moderate amount. I've seen feedback on this one mainly being around we already have so many Rift exotics, and this is another one in that vein. However, I don't believe that to be the case entirely, and here's why. This will just work with Mindspun Invocation. You consume a shackle grenade and are granted 25 seconds of suspend on any final blow, essentially making this devour the Strand Warlock with some extra healing over time on top of it. Something which will greatly benefit the subclass as it lacks restoration options. This can be maintained as an infinite loop with Thread of Generation. Another consideration is the new Malpei. It suspends targets upon detonating multiple attached shots. It's a neat little synergy, but what I'm curious about is the increased damage against bosses, as they are not traditionally suspended, instead instantly break out of it, triggering the additional damage effect. This is improving an already effective strategy, so it will no doubt be potent. It depends a lot on the numbers here, but keep in mind this strat if you want to pump DPS. And on that, Strand Warlock is growing in popularity for DPS. It's used a lot by the highest level players to pump out damage in situations like Low Man, Epic Desert Perpetual or speedruns. Some of this can be attributed to Threadling buffs and Weaver's Core, with the artifact mod boosting this going away, but it will still be overall very viable damage. This aspect allows for any damage to generate Threadlings, and Rift Cast to also generate Threadlings. Also, Threadling damage returns class ability energy. Using Dynamo Fusion will also allow Rift Cast to suspend nearby targets, granting each cast so much value. While running this, you could also use the Dynamo Distribution combo to cycle super energy and ability energy. Empowering Rift can be utilised too, since healing is already covered. Empowering got a buff recently to grant ability energy and ammo generation, as well as the weapon damage buff while inside the Rift. This can work on Prismatic too, but lacks some of the Strand synergy options. However, if this exotic does work with Phoenix Dive, that will be insane. However, from the wording I assume this will not work. It is something to look out for though. There's also synergy with Wishkeeper, though I imagine most will go for new Malpei as it is incredibly overtuned right now. Overall, we'll give this one a 9 out of 10 because it's improving an already existing effective strategy, so it being good is just a given. It will round out a subclass in Strand Warlock which is very potent but lacks sustain. Threadling spam is a lot better now with Weaver's Core, and this gives an easy choice in second aspect with Mindspun Invocation. This setup I'm confident will be top tier, and if it isn't, feel free to flame me. Next, for one I've seen the most excitement about, the Twilight Garrison 2.0, or as it's now called Praxic Vestment. The description for this one reads: gain an air move jetpack. Weapon and arc powered melee final blows build up jetpack fuel. Activate your jetpack while airborne with a forceful blast that exhausts nearby enemies, then fly forward based on the amount charged. Collide with a combatant to unleash a blinding blast of arc energy, and gain a temporary bonus to your melee stat. So obviously from that there's a lot more to it, but at base this could be a movement exotic option, so it will need to be tested alongside others for potential synergy. Will eager swinging into this boost momentum significantly? This might actually turn out to be some pretty good speedrun tech. But it's more than just standard horizontal movement, which, let's be real, it's unlikely this will beat out either well or shatter skating. Praxic Vestment offers vertical movement which is much more rare, only typically found with micro missile grenade launchers, and slower options like using stasis crystals to scale walls. Combining the Praxic Vest boost with a micro missile GL launcher self-propulsion may give you unmatched vertical movement. Outside of just the movement, there's also some combat capabilities here, though I'm not completely convinced on this part. To charge it, you'll need weapon or arc melee final blows. Assuming arc melee is weighted more than weapons, it's worth considering that knockout reclasses regular melees as arc powered, and this is available on prismatic too, not just pure arc. This could be the way to get easy charge. Also, the exotic effect itself may count as an arc melee to loop usages. The melee stat boost is nice, but not that notable. As you're using this, it means you're not using either Worm Gods or Synthoceps to take best advantage of this boost. Outside of knockout, it is harder to loop arc melees too, as you won't be using Skullfort. But most importantly, this will no doubt be incredibly fun, something I'll be trying out for sure, and could change the game in terms of Titan movement. Just remember that using this you are losing out on a lot of offensive capabilities other Titan exotics offer, and these are the reason Titan is so strong quite a lot of the time. Overall, a 7 out of 10 for this. Finally, Hunters. This, like the Warlock exotic, I think is underrated in an endgame PvE setting. The description for this reads, after landing a final blow while at full health, or when out of combat for an extended duration, your shields will recharge into an overshield. While you have any overshield, your weapons gain increased accuracy, stability, handling, and damage against combatants, and final blows will grant a short period of increased mobility once the overshield is depleted. First up, just a general rule, overshield exotic means it's probably going to be pretty good. It's just what it is. Overshields are really strong. They allow for base health regeneration while providing much more than initially assumed, as overshields have an inbuilt damage resistance to them, this being 70%. So while a Void Overshield has on paper 45 health, this is more like 76 with the resistance factored in. And why this is better than something like Devour, which heals around 70 health, is this can stack on top of your existing health. Maybe you could use these effects together too. Same applies to any other damage resist or healing source. Also, the full health requirement is basically almost cosmetic, not going to lie. Most likely just a PvP balancing failsafe. Even in difficult content, there's always low tier enemies you can just insta-gib for an overshield before taking any damage. There's so many healing options, you will be at full health half the time regardless. And again, while you have a Void Overshield, you will be regenerating health, as there is no health interruptions which would typically be happening in combat. There's also plenty of ways to cheese this. You could use something like Excalibur to start a Void Overshield, you could use a Void weapon with repulsive rays and destabilising rounds, and some options on Prismatic and Void like Facet of Purpose. For the weapon boost while maintaining a Void Overshield, this is all numbers which we don't currently know, but a few things to look out for. Is it a unique damage boost, meaning it stacks with all other existing options? With the recent change to other exotics like Mask of Fealty to make their boosts unique, my gut reaction is that it will be, making it much more potent. If it is just a regular empowering buff, it's less viable but still nice to have. Also, just how big is the weapon buff? A unique 30% will be meta defining, an empowering 20% maybe not so much. The stat bumps and mobility boosts are nice to have too. It seems like this effect is on pretty much every hunter exotic these days, but at least here the activation criteria is straightforward and can be easily maintained. And just for hunters in general, this class has a lot of resistance or avoidance tactics, but not much healing. While this isn't direct healing, it is indirect due to allowing regeneration, and boosts the potency of any damage resist sources you want to stack on top of it by a lot. I'd give this one an 8 out of 10, it's universally strong, and even better on the more fragile subclasses, like Solar or Stasis. Let's hope this one doesn't follow suit of most hunter exotics in being half unfunctional at launch. Thank you for watching.